Can you hear me? 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 This is a test. We're just testing. If you can hear me, type something.
This is crazy. I can see you there, and I can see you there. And
Can you hear me also through the there's probably a delay.
yeah. Oh my God, this is crazy. I can see you there, and I can see you there. It's pretty long delay. Can you hear me also? Through the there's probably a delay. Yeah, you sound pretty good through the mic on there.
Okay.
Very clear. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to end the stream right now, and then because I'm not supposed to start it for another 25 minutes. But I wonder if this link will be the same link.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, but are you on? Type something in the channel so that way I can turn you into a moderator.
I see it says. I don't see anywhere to type. It says live chat. And then I see you saying type something if you can hear me. It says welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. But there's no.
Scroll down.
Oh, you just scroll way down. Like way down. Okay.
Add moderator. Okay. So type something else. And
Okay, there we go.
and you should have some moderating tools.
Yeah, I can right-click on stuff and remove it or report it.
Okay.
So
So if it doesn't stay that way, then I'll just redo it.
okay.
Okay, I'm gonna end this.
Okay.
Or you know what? I could actually just leave it on, and then start passing out the link, and get people to start coming in.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Well, I don't know what you're using. If you're using OBS, you could always put up like something that's like, stream starting soon or something. I don't know. Just like you would on Twitch, man. I wish I could put the chat beside the video.
You can pop out. There's an option to pop it out.
That's still not nearly as convenient though. They've got to adjust all the, you know what I mean? It's like, no wonder YouTube is getting their ass kicked by Twitch.
All right. Yeah, because I can't see the chat very well either.
Yeah, I don't understand why there isn't an option to have it like it is in Twitch, where it's just on the right,
Oh, you know what? It's probably because, are you in mini player mode, default view, or full screen? I mean, there's different views.
Oh,
Like you see where the, if you hover your mouse over the screen
yeah.
to the right.
Okay. Default view works. I'm sorry. I'm used to just having the whole thing up there. That's just how I do it. So, okay, that works. But I might keep them separate anyway. Well, let me think.
All right, I'm just messaging a few people who were wanting to know when I was going to start this.
Okay.
I take it you have me muted.
Oh, yeah, I have the stream itself is muted. I'm muted. I have the volume. You have me muted. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. I muted it now. It's pretty cool. What are you gonna be doing? Showing how to do some 3D modeling stuff.
How to use this. The purpose of this video is to show this is the newest version of Chitubox, and when you 3D print models in resin, you have to align them and set them up for printing, and that involves supporting them properly. So I just want to make sure we've got 3 viewers. But this isn't supposed to start until about 4, so. Yeah.
Sorry, that was my alarm to remind me to do this.
Yeah, this is a lot different than Twitch for sure.
Yeah. I'm still getting used to Twitch.
What's that?
I said I'm still getting used to Twitch. I still, like, I go to other people's streams and I'm like, what's going on? Where's all this stuff coming from? Where are all these animations and shit? It's like its own whole, like, culture. It's crazy.
All right, we got 4 viewers. It's still daylight here, so I had to put about 3 like beach towels over my window. I feel like a meth head or something. All right, if you're in the channel and everything is a go, go ahead and introduce yourself into the channel. Say hello. I know there's only 4 people here, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Felixx, and I've been 3D printing for quite a few years. I started out with the filament printing with the FDM printers. I had a CR10. I did not have the S. It wasn't out at the time. And then about a year ago, over a year ago, I went ahead and I started printing with resin because I wanted a helmet printed, and that person did such an awesome job. Of course, it was overseas, and I just had to ask him for some direction. And Wilson, it's all your fault. But I went ahead and he gave me a link to Peopoly Phenom. And after some hard decision making, I went ahead and purchased my first resin printer, which is the Phenom. And talk about diving in. That's more like jumping into the deep end. And it was a lot. It was a whole different beast than an FDM printer. So, hey, Jessey, thanks for stopping in, bud. It's an honor to have you, seriously. So, Uncle Jessey has his own channel as well. Feel free to type in your YouTube channel, because I think everybody should be able to watch his videos. To be quite honest, he's the reason why a lot of the stuff that's in my print room is in my print room. I have a lot to say thank you for that. And the community is amazing. No matter which printer you have, which Facebook group you belong to, if you're in the Peopoly Facebook group, the Saturn book, any group, I haven't come across everybody's mature there, and they want to help everybody else out, which is great. And this is kind of me giving something back. I may not have all the answers. I may do stuff a little bit differently than what everybody else does, but this is what's worked for me. I've already had someone say something to me regarding the Thanos that's on the actual flyer. And I'm going to show you how I did that. And the supports look thin, but I've printed about a dozen of those Thanos prints for gifts, and they haven't had a single failure. So I'm saying because of the nerve, so apologies for that. So I wanted to shout out some thanks. One was for Uncle Jessey, everybody in the Peopoly group. because at one time, like all of us, we all start out new, and we look for answers through other people. And it's great when you ask a question, which is probably the simplest question that there is, and somebody actually gives you an answer, and they don't make fun of you for giving you, for asking a simple question. So that's what this is for. And if you see me doing something here today, and you have another way that you like to do it, or you have a suggestion, spit it out. I'm not going to fault you for it, because that's how we all learn. Let's see. Untinned goldfish, you're more than welcome. New is something that's academic, I think, because a lot of people will tell you, or they'll say, I could never do anything like that. People say that about my costuming. And I tell them that everybody is born with a capability. It's just a matter of passion and drive. How much you want to do it, how much time you want to spend on research and doing this sort of thing. So I'm just going to kind of get right to it, because it is a recorded video, and I don't want to spend too much time, because there's going to be other people from other parts of the world that are going to tune in. So this is my first live video. Hopefully I'll be doing more. This is like a big lesson. I set up OBS. I got a big green screen behind me. Like I was telling my buddy, I got towels hanging over my window so that it still stays dark enough in here, so there's a little bit of stuff going on here, but you get the idea. So this is Chitubox 1.81, and I'm just going to go over really quick some of the settings that have been enhanced. I was going to do this using 1.7 because I don't like, when it came to Chitubox, I don't like to install betas. I was unsure about installing this version, but I went ahead and I did it anyway, because I wanted to, if I'm going to do this video, I wanted to do it on the latest version, and this is the stable version, and I'm going to tell you it works great. I haven't had a single crash. It's got these great features. So I'm just going to dip into it here. I'm going to click up here, and we're going to go to setting. The first thing you want to do is you want to go through some of these settings, and they're pretty self-explanatory. The first one, this tick box, enabling this option will calculate the volume when slicing. This option, one second here. Okay. This option may, let me see here. It says that basically when it comes to slicing, if you have a very complicated model and it takes a long time to slice, you just uncheck this option and it'll slice it lightning fast. But the only difference is it's not going to tell you certain bits of information. It's not going to tell you how much resin it's going to take to use, and a few other things. This option is moved here. It used to be under the help section, but they've remastered this whole layout, which is great. I feel like I should be paying for this software because of all of the changes that they've done. There are a couple of things that I'm hoping that Chitubox will go through and add and change, and I'll be going over those. The next one's graphics card backwards compatible mode. If the model preview or point location selection is abnormal, you can check this mode, and the program will use some more memory in the mode. You have to restart the program for this option to take effect. And I've tried this, and I have a GeForce RTX 3080, and I've tried this on a lower end card, and I've still left this unchecked. So I don't see any reason to check this. This next one is really awesome. Enabling the thumbnail preview of desktop model. So basically, if you're using a Mac in your File Explorer, or if you're using a PC in your Windows Explorer, when you have, instead of looking at it as a list and you're looking at it as icons, you'll see a little preview of the last saved orientation of the model, which is really cool because on the fly, you've got so many models. Like for me, I have a ton of file names just for one project. But when you are able to look at it on the fly, it makes it that much easier. At least it does for me. So that's a really cool option. And just untick it if you don't want that. The next one is in support mode, the selected model is automatically placed in the center of the perspective. I play with this in and out. You just have to play with this. I leave it unchecked because I like to have more control on where I'm viewing it. Have you ever been in support mode and you're editing supports and then you go back into the other mode and then it changes? Well, I believe this is the spot where if you leave this unchecked, it won't do that, which makes it very handy. You're not seeing my menu box. Oh, yeah, I'm not seeing it either. Well, that's really weird. If you have, does everybody have Chitubox open by chance? That they can follow me along? This is, with the way I set up OBS, is just to look at, let me see if I can change this here. Give me 1 second to take a look and see if I can change this. Center monitor properties. So it's got it set for Chitubox. Okay, so I'm going to have to just change this as I'm going through. Oh, that's really weird. That everybody can see it now? All right, so I'm going to go back to the support mode. Model is automatically placed, center perspective. Okay. The next one is preview support. This is really cool. This is really cool. When you're adding supports, have you ever wondered how at least for people that have used previous versions, when you're using this option and you have it ticked on, you'll get a small transparent preview of where the support is going to be and how it's going to lay. This makes it easier because when you're moving it, it shows you how it's going to interact with supports beside it, and that usually helps a lot also. And you can turn that off, and you can turn it off by here. Display support auxiliary line. I'm not actually sure what this option does. If you know, just go ahead and put it in the chat. I've just left it on. Open graphic tooltip. I'll show you what that is when we're in the support, when we're putting on supports. It basically, when you hover over all the different options for your supports, it'll give you like a little graphic and it'll show you what it actually does, which is really helpful. But after you kind of get to know what each one does, just come over here and turn it off. Grid spacing, that changes the spacing on your build plate that you have your model on. It's pretty much self-explanatory, and the same with grid width. The sliced file thumbnail view. So this is something pretty cool. Have you ever looked at the models, you know, once you've sliced it and you've put it on your thumb drive and you go to put it in a printer and you're going through the list? I have some models that it's easier for me to recognize if I orient them. So basically what this says is the last save orientation that's how it's going to look on your printer when you're going through it to start your print. And you can change that from placement view, home view, or front view. I like placement view because that's, it helps me know where that's going to be. Support hidden angle. So this is, and here's the tooltip. Support hidden angle. In the support mode, when the viewing angle looks up to the model. So basically, when you're adding supports and you're looking up underneath and you only see the dots. So the more you rotate your model, you can change this angle, which will change when the supports appear. I leave it at this same one. Autosave interval, 15 minutes. So I like to save my model right away once I start adding supports. And this will save it every 15 minutes. I still do it manually. This is the autosave directory. So it'll do it once you put the autosave directory in there. And that's pretty much for that. So I'm going to go back here. Excuse me. There we go. I don't know why it won't let me just select. I have 3 monitors, and I don't know why it won't let me select just the center monitor and let me drag whatever I want. Any questions? No, we're doing good so far. Okay. So I'm going to bring in a model now. Which one do I want to do here? I'm going to start something when it cylindrical. Oh, there we go. All right. So I designed this in Fusion 360. It's an ear cap for my Daft Punk helmet. Now, this is going to be something that's really good to learn from. When a lot of people ask me about angling, there's a lot of different theories on how to do that. Now, some people say, "Oh, just do 30 or just do 45." You can start at 45 and see where that is. But what we're trying to do is alleviate as much surface area as possible. Now, the taller this model is going to be, the longer it's going to take to print. So a lot of people will try to tell you to do 30 degrees to try to save time on print. But you got to think of how much more space and how much more tension you're going to put on the FEP. And the FEP, over time, it's going to lose its elasticity and you're going to have to change it more often. So the best thing to do is to just eyeball it. But there are different ways. Like each printer has its own settings. There's a video that I'm going to put in the comments when I'm done here where they go over the specific math equation on what's best to help remove lines and things like that. I just don't have them with me now. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to start to add what I'm going to do here, because I want to show you something else that's cool. I basically just selected one and hit Control C or Command C if you're on a Mac, and then Command or Control V to add another one. And you notice it's in the same angle. You can do this once you've added all of your supports. You can copy it and then add it again, and then you'll be able to have, in my case, I need 2 of them anyway, because he has 2 ears. So this will alleviate having to add supports twice. So we're going to go over, notice which one I have selected here. So we're going to go to the supports. And you notice what happened. It removed one of the models. Now this is something that's new in 1.81. There's been so many times when I have had to move all these models off the plate so that I can see what I'm doing when I'm adding supports. Chitubox did this awesome thing where they, whatever model that you're working on, they just remove it all except for the one, because they know that they want you to focus on this one. Something else that I've noticed that, well, there's a lot of things that I've noticed, but let's go through this here. These are my settings, but I'll go through them in some cases and I'll change them on the fly. 3D Print Pro, I forgot his name. Jessey, Uncle Jessey, I think you might know his name, but I don't print a lot of minis. I print a lot of larger prints. So I've had to kind of figure all this out on my own. 3D Print Pro gave me a great start on setting, getting my prints, my support settings. But what I've done is tailored them for larger prints. And if I make smaller stuff, then I'll go ahead and I'll change them. So I pretty much only use heavies, and then I'll just adjust them from there. But something this short, you know, this thing is only this big. So towards the bottom, I'll use heavy supports. And as I get up towards the mid, then I'll add mediums. The option that's in the settings where it shows you the tooltips. There's an example of one right there. So this is the contact shape, which will show you what shape it is. So the contact shape is none right here, but it'll, if you want it to be a sphere, you can put it on sphere. That's an interesting word, sphere. The diameter, here's the diameter, tells you the diameter of the shape that's connecting to the model. And this really is helpful. I'm glad that they did this. The contact depth, this is extremely important because the deeper it goes, if you go too deep, you can create what are called blackheads, because when you break them off, they will create pits, and then you'll have to fill them out. And if you're doing minis, that could ruin the print. For larger prints like this, you'll have to do a lot more work. So what I do is I don't go too deep depending on what it is that I'm doing. Here's the shape. You can adjust the different types of shape. And you can pretty much see as I go down here, here's width. You can adjust that width, the cross width. And you know, for the longest time, I had no idea what the setting was for until they put this in here. So when you have two supports going together, and you'll see what I'm talking about, you can adjust this width. This is cross start, pretty much tells you everything here. This is the great thing about Chitubox. I don't know if Lychee does this. I'm not going to say anything bad about Lychee. I've never used it. I've pretty much have stuck with Chitubox. I'm willing to pay for this software because a lot of work goes into it. And here's that angle option. So this is pretty awesome stuff. So as you can see here at the bottom, you can turn these off. This is hidden support suggestions. I believe that one's is that the one? Oh, they moved it. Oh, I see what that is. They changed it. So when you click on this, it helps you. It tells you, it gives you like a little preview of where your support's going to be. If you don't want to see that, you just click on this button here and it'll hide it. I'm not sure what happened to the other option where you can take off these little suggestions, but they don't really bother me. So with the left mouse button, I slide back and forth, up and down. The right mouse button will rotate. And I'm just going to go in here. And you can see exactly where that's going to place it. So I'm going to go ahead and place it. And I typically like to put heavies at the bottom. And I'm going to go to Edit. And you can see exactly, sorry if this is making anybody dizzy. But do you see how this is right on the edge? That's not something I wanted to do. Now there's been a lot of suggestions and debate on where to place this first support. Now you can see the suggestions are giving you the angle. Now if you want, like I said, here's a heavy, and if I want to change the diameter, that's the contact diameter. Here's the upper diameter here. You see how that changes? You can change this on the fly, and it's not going to change your default ones, because right now we're in edit mode. So if I go back to add this, see it goes back to the way that I had it before. So if you're changing it, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Do we have any questions yet so far? Nope. Okay. Let's see. All right. So I'm going to just add these here. Now, as you can see, I went ahead and I put them on this edge. This is something else that I wanted to point out for the beginners. When you see this black line that's going across, this will tell you where it's going to start printing. That's where the island starts. So you could put one here, or click on Edit, go into here, and we're going to double click, and it's going to add a branch here. And you see that black line? That'll take you down to the center right here. Now you're going to have options to keep adding more, but there's two ways that you can stop this. You can click in this gray area here, or just hit your escape key. And there it is. I'm not too comfortable with how that is. I don't think I need that. So what I'm going to do is go to Delete Support and just delete it. I'm going to show you something here. Here's one that's been properly supported. I did this as a sample. Here's one that's not been properly supported. How it's wavy. And the reason for that was because I'm just going to do mediums here. You see how these suggestions, they tell you to just do the top. Here's that cross width. So I like to always make sure that they're connected. So what I did was To undo an option, you can do Command Z or Control Z. That's pretty much the same for all platforms. So I went ahead and I just printed it like this, and that's why I got that error. So what you'll want to do is go all the way around in this fashion here. I'm not sure how many times that you can undo, but I've pretty much have undid everything. And this is a spot where I don't mind putting this many supports on it because it's going to be sanded anyway. And you don't have to be close to the edge when you start to go away from the bottom. That's something else I wanted to kind of go over. When you start to come up on the sides, if you're doing something round, yes, you have to be on the edge when you're on the bottom, right here. But you don't have to be when you are coming up around the edge like this. And that's great because when you sand it, then you don't have to worry about messing up your edges. That option in the settings about the 45-degree angle, this is where that happens. So you can change that in the settings for this to turn on and off. Now when it comes to, some people ask, now when I do a disc, do I have to support the center? My answer is this. Adding supports here, now without going too far to the edge, you can do a cluster in the center here like this, and you should be fine. But adding additional supports, especially if they're mediums, you're not going to take up a lot of resin, and it's not going to hurt. And if you don't mind, or if it's not going to be a hassle for you to just remove these supports and it's in a non-crucial area, just put them on there. Print once, or, you know, as my dad always used to say when I worked with him at the machine shop, measure twice, cut once. And that's where that comes in. So when I go back here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete that. This is selected. I'm going to copy it. I'm just going to add it here. And I'm going to put it right there. So now I have two, and I don't have to do two of the same, which is pretty awesome. When it comes to placing your models, it's always good to place them in the center. I'm going to rotate this way. I think that's 90. Because the reason for this is around the edges of your FEP or your plate are going to be the tightest. So you want to keep everything in the center. This is something that's just kind of backwards. Another thing to go by, and this has always worked for me, when you're doing parts and you're filling up your build plate, create a mountain. Start with the highest in the center and then work your way down. And the reason for this is because the center of the plate, or actually the center of the FEP, this is the plate. The FEP is over here on the, this is the way your plate actually looks. This is the way it's going to come. So when your print is coming up, the FEP in the center is the most flexible. And the smaller parts on the edge don't require as much flexibility. So that's why you want to keep them on the edge and your tallest prints in the center. Okay, and that is something that I've learned the hard way, because I've put some pretty strong prints in there, pretty heavy prints on the edges like this, and I had heavy lines. I even had waves, things like that didn't work out too well. Okay, so the next one I want to do is this one's by Hex 3D. Jeff does incredible models, and I'm going to bring in his skull. I'm going to bring in one that's like this one and this one. Okay, this is the full size. Now, when it comes to hollowing, this is a solid piece, which is what you don't want, because when it's printing, now here's a way to look to see how your prints are and to check for islands, which we'll go over. This is a solid piece. Now, what I was talking about earlier is that, well, we want to angle stuff to make sure that it's not going to use so much space. Well, we can't really do that when you have a big piece like this. You want to hollow it out. So what I did was I hollowed this out. And as you can see, this is a lot less surface that is going to be required to print. Your print's going to come out amazing, and it's going to be hollow. You're going to save on resin. There's just a lot of reasons why you want to hollow. This is a 3 millimeter wall thickness. You know, if you have a gigantic wall or a gigantic print, 3 millimeters is good. That's the minimum. Some people do 2.5. I pretty much like to do 3 as a general rule, and it works well. And then I got to put a couple of holes here in the bottom, and I'll go over that in just a second. You will notice a difference between the hollowing on this one here than the larger one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this. And up here you've got your option for hollowing. There it is. This is something else that Chitubox 1.81 has added. The precision. Now, before, I didn't like using Chitubox to hollow my parts because it always left things on the inside like a crystal. It just was a crystallized wall. There were heavy polys on the inside. It wasn't smooth, and at some point, the points of the polys would poke through the print, causing a small hole, and I'd have to do additional work. So here they've added this precision. I made a suggestion many times if they could do something like what you see here on the one on the right. This was not hollowed using Chitubox. I used Prusa slicer, and I actually still do. You can see how smooth it is. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use the 100% precision on this guy right here. And it's a wall thickness of 3, hollowing process animation. This is something else that they put in. You can uncheck that, so that way this, I'll show you what happens when you leave it on, but you can uncheck it if you don't want to see it. And I just leave this to inner. So if you uncheck that, you won't see this. Now, when you're done hollowing, when this prints, you have to put a hole in it. You have to actually put 2, one for draining the additional resin that's on the inside, and a secondary hole for a breather hole. It's just like when you drink a soda, you got to have an extra space for when you're drinking for the air to suck in as the fluid leaks out. And so here's the hole option. I don't like to keep the hole. I usually just fill it or I just leave it, but you can. But if you keep the hole, I'm going to go ahead and do that so that you can see it. Huh. Circle. Add a hole. There it goes. So you have to wait for it to turn green, I guess. There's one. And there's two. So here is, it looks like it wants to just keep doing holes. So I'm going to try hitting escape. The escape key stopped it. Here's the holes. I'm going to bring them in here. If you try to use these same holes to fill it, they won't fit because they're the exact same size as the hole. So what you'll have to do, you'll go in here and you'll have to change the scale. And it moved the hole somewhere. So I haven't done that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete these plugs. So that's why I don't do the plugs. Now, as you can see, the difference here. Even at the highest precision, they still haven't. If I change that precision to 80% or 50%, it'll be worse. The walls are good, but when it comes to anything that's got a radius in it, it doesn't seem to like it. The polys are just too bad. So that's why I use Perusa slicer, and I might do another video showing that. It takes a little bit of time to do something like that. But that's the reason why I don't hollow using Chitubox, and that's one of the suggestions. So if Chitubox you're watching, here's a comparison side by side with Perusa on the left, and you're hollowing on the right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this. And we're going to go into adding supports for this guy because that's what we're here for. So I have printed this with two different resins. I have it printed right here, and you can see the holes on the bottom. And you can hide these holes. I mean, they don't have to be right on the bottom. This one, I actually put supports on the inside, which I didn't need to. And I also printed using the Siraya Tech Fast Smoky Black. And then I put a light underneath it, which is pretty awesome. Eduardo, thank you for joining us. Sorry I didn't say hello to you before. I wonder what time it is in Brazil. It must be 7:30. Well, that's not too bad. Well, thanks again for joining us. Hopefully you'll be able to pick this up from the beginning if you want to watch it from the beginning. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add the supports. Now, I'm not going to support it this way. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this a little bit. Now, we've already hollowed it out. So what I talked about earlier about using too much surface area on your FEP, this pretty much, because it's a skull and it's round, it doesn't really apply that much more. If you were using something with multiple shapes, which I'm going to go over, then it does still. But here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get it off of the floor. I want that jaw off the floor, just about like that. And that'll work just fine. Now we're going to go in here and support. Now this is going to be kind of exciting for me, so I know that this is the bottom. All of this is the bottom here, the flat spot. And so any supports that you put on there, you just go over fine sandpaper and you can make it nice and smooth again. So we're going to look at the bottom here and you can see everything in red here. That's where it needs to be supported for the most part. When you see light red, you can probably get away with not supporting it in that spot. So as you can see, it comes to a point right here, and it just keeps going out. When I go along here, you can see that comes to a point also. So there's several, these are called islands, and you can see where these islands are. Actually, after I slice this, I'll show you. There's an option now where Chitubox is added to detect islands. So you can see some of the islands. Here's one here. Here's one on the other side. Here's some more islands here. Now, if you don't add supports here, you're just going to see that nothing, it can't print anything in midair. So you have to start with a support. See how it comes to a point like that? So that's what we're going to do. When you see it super dark like that, this is also very helpful. And you don't have to keep using this. But this is a good way to double check when you're done. Now, what I was mentioning before, here's the inside. When I printed this gray one, I added supports right here. But this is a round object. It's not necessary. I took a chance with it because I was learning, and I printed it without supports because I printed this with this smoky black, and when I put the light underneath it, I didn't want a bunch of supports to be seen. So I went ahead and I didn't add any supports here, and it printed just fine. So in some cases you can do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with some heavies. I'm going to go right here to the point. I'm going to add that. Now, since this is underneath and you're not going to really see it that much, I wouldn't be too concerned about adding too many supports. And I'm basically just going to, what I would like to do first is cover these major points. There's one there. They're kind of hidden. Now, this doesn't show a point, but this is really red right here. So I'm still going to put this here. I'm going to put one here. I'm going to put one here. You can take some mediums or lights. Now in crevices like this, this would be, you also have to think ahead of time when you're adding supports, what's going to be easier for me to remove? Sometimes I use an X-Acto blade to remove supports before I cure it, and it helps, but you got to be really careful. So if I put something right here in the center like that, that's going to be really hard to remove. You want to look for a flat surface, something that's mostly perpendicular, but see, it doesn't require a support here. So here, I can get away with that because I know I can get an X-Acto blade in there. But if I still don't like it, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into Edit. And this is something really cool when Chitubox finally started to have this officially. You had to go through a secret keystroke to get this to happen, but now you can edit supports in this way. This is new, this dotted line. That means that you're grabbing the knuckle. I call this the knuckle, and you have to be in edit support mode, and you just kind of grab it with left click and just kind of grab it. And you notice how the top gets smaller? So you grab it a little bit. I'm going to rotate this, make sure it's not touching. If it looks like it's going to be touching, and you just grab this branch here and move it away. Grab this tip here, and I'm just going to go right here. You can move this anywhere you want, but I'm going to do it here. And if I want to go even further than that, I can go over here to connection, what is it? Connection diameter. So I can change that diameter. The point's already inside the model, but you could change this diameter here. See that? And that works for me. I'm going to go back here. Now, over here, I'm going to show you something else that I love to do. I'm going to grab this knuckle, I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to double click on this part of the support. And you notice it's going to allow me to put more supports here. Now I'm going to either hit escape, I can double click on one of these, and then I exit that mode. Or I can click in this gray area, and there, I'm done. Now I don't like to do more than 3. Best things are in 3, as 3D Print Pro said at one point. Now I'm still in edit mode. If this is too close, I don't like the way that this is too close to the model. So I'm going to grab it here, and I'm just going to pull it out a little bit. Now you notice that it's no longer touching. But if I pull this out a little more, it'll... So now I feel a lot better about that support. If it's too angled, what I'll do is I'll bring it down just a little bit more so that it's more of a straight shot instead of a too much of an angle. Because if you're going to be like this, and let's just say you're too far out like that. It's just hypothetical. That's not going to be a very good support because the support's going to need support. So you'll want to bring it down so it's more of a one shot. Or a straight shot, I should say. There. I mean, that's excessive, but I'm just doing that to prove a point. I can just raise this back up. And this is something that can be done on all of them. And this is why I use heavies most of the time, because I can turn the heavies into a medium simply by doing that. So let's say, for example, I'm going to add this guy. Now, when you see this, when it goes down at an angle and it goes down, you won't be able to adjust that knuckle like I just showed you. So what I'll do is I'll come out as much as I can. If it still doesn't do it, then I'll just do it here. I'll just add it. Now I'll go to Edit Support. I'll just grab this guy right here. I'll put him up here. I'll have to zoom out. Bring it away from the subject or the model. Kind of scoot this up a little bit. Now I'll be able to add these. Now what I've done in the past, if you have something that's super high up and you're thinking, wow, that support's all by itself, is it going to be okay? You can do something like this. Oop, let's edit. You can do a single one, because I don't like to have a single foot. Or you can do 3 of them. I know this kind of defeats the purpose, but in some cases, that's good to do. You know, support the supports. Instead of having 3 separated supports, I'm able to control where I put them. All right, so that is something else I wanted to go over. If you notice, a lot of people, I'm going to go over my supports really quick. A lot of people will use rafts. I'm going to tell you why I don't like to use rafts. I never used rafts in my FDM printing, and I will not use them in my resin printing. And that's because the supports are rafts themselves. So the more supports that you add, like so, you're actually creating your own raft. So there's no need to do it. Not to mention, you still have these at an angle. So it's easy to get your spatula up. And just to tap on the spatula topic, I use the plastic one. I don't like to use the metal one because it puts grooves and scratches, on your plate, and then you'll have to sand it. I did that recently because I couldn't get anything off my plate, and then I sanded it, and now it's really hard to get any models off my plate. So anyway, just one last thing to go over on this. I'm going to go ahead and add these guys. This flat surface here, you don't have to add them very close. Just think ahead of time. Just like, I don't have to put it real close. I can go like this. Probably 4. It's probably excessive, but the reason for that is so that you can pull this down like so. I'm just going to add a support there, here, and here. Hit escape to get out of that. There you go. That guy's fully supported. I know it doesn't look like it, but it is. If you want, since the supports are already mounted on the jawline, I'm still in edit mode. I can go over here until I capture one of those guys. It's just a matter of preference, to be honest with you. But that is a well-supported jawline. You have to also think about the size of your model. If it's not a super large model, it's not going to take up all of your plate. So using large supports can be considered overkill. Let me take a look here. I have not used the flex plates. I just haven't had a need to. I see a lot of people using them. Uncle Jessey has a great video on flex plates. But when it comes to taking off a model, I just never had any problems with the plastic spatula. It's never been an issue for me. I'm looking forward to, if Jessey is still viewing, there was going to be a video on a larger wash station, which would be really cool. I'm just changing a topic randomly. Can I show how it shows missed islands? Oh, yes, I will do that. So let's say this is ready to go. I know it's completely not. I'm going to go exit this. And my settings are set for, this is just the noir, but I'm just going to go ahead and slice it. And the progress bar is now on the bottom, which is really cool. So here we go. You can still move it around. That option in the settings, which makes it slice faster, will remove the volume. You also have, you'll see a network sending. This is something that is possible. I haven't done it, but it's something that can be done. I still have to look into it a little bit more. I didn't have time to do that, but it is something that that can be done. All right. Oh wow! It looks like you can put it in this kind of and when you're done, the printer name. Once you've added your printer, you select whichever printer you have, and then this little airplane will send your file directly to it. I never like to use my computer for doing it that way. I trust the USB drive, because if my computer decides to, like if there's a lightning storm and my computer dies or something and I'm in the middle of a 20-hour print, I'm not going to be happy. But I'm not sure if this alleviates that problem once it goes to the printer. But printers, they don't have memory, so I don't think that's a thing yet. So anyway, so up here you can detect the islands. It will check whether the current slice file has islands that cannot be successfully printed. So this is a good, because I didn't finish printing it. And then this one, let's see here. So down on the bottom left, you can see where it's detecting the islands. I got a pretty fast machine, so it shouldn't take too long. Hopefully my voice isn't too boring. I'm not taking up too much of your time. This is my first live stream. Normally I DJ live stream, and I'm more comfortable that way. But this is actually a lot of fun. I can see everything that's going on. I can't see how anybody can do this without 3 monitors, but it's working out pretty good. I'm surprised my cat hasn't come by to say hello. But I did this for you guys. I bought this. I got all the setup so that I can keep doing it, and hopefully in the future I'll have more comfort. So let's see here. So while this is finishing up, what printers do you have? Do you have any questions about? I own a Saturn. I own a standard Phenom. By the way, I am a moderator on the Phenom, or the Peopoly group. It's a great group. There's a lot of good people, a lot of helpful people. Same with the Elegoo Saturn Facebook group too. The Siraya Siraya Tech Facebook group, they're good as well. Those are 3 really good groups to belong to. I was lucky. I got my Saturn during the preview. Let's see. So it did is it going to show me? Islands of current layer, islands of all layers. Okay, so delete the islands. The file, you can choose to delete the islands. Show isolated island layers. Show all layers. So I am not. Why don't I go back and delete all the supports. It's not letting me. Oh, there we go. Remove all. Yes. Now we'll go back over here and slice and see if it finds any islands. Because this was supposed to be a pretty awesome feature, and I want to make sure I take advantage of it. So I'm going to go over here and say, check whether the current slice file has islands that cannot be successfully printed. All right, almost. How long have we been going here? Oh my gosh, 82 minutes. Well, a half an hour of that was just me setting up and hanging out. By the way, if you have any questions on anything, just spit them out into the chat, and I'll address them as soon as I can. I want to make sure that that I cover everything. You know, I had this whole thing planned out, and I kept it in my head. I'm gonna write it down next time. But I do a lot of my thinking when I'm just, you know, I could have gone over everything that I was gonna go over, but I didn't. All right, so we're done slicing. The 10 exposure time. This is for. I forgot which machine this was for. Okay, so at the bottom there, at the bottom right here, it says Islands 44. So I don't know if it shows you where they're at. Islands of current layer, islands of all layers. Yeah, it's not really showing me where all the islands are. It just detects them. Do I got that right? Am I missing something? I mean, there's an island right there. Yeah. Yep, there's an island right there. Click on 2026. Oh. Let's see. Click on it. Huh. Oh, there we go. Okay, so there's the lines. I clicked on this here, show isolated island layers, show all layers, and it doesn't show me anything. But here, so I guess this kind of gives you a general idea of where the islands are. There it is. But I wish you can click on it. It doesn't look like you can. So that's the very, very bottom. Oh, I see. So you start at the bottom. There's one island. There's another one. Yep, that's an island, all right. This is pretty awesome. Thank you, Eduardo. You're hired. Look at that. There they are. So we're doing this islands of all layers, not just the current one. And I started at the very bottom and made sure that this was selected. And I'm just going up one by one. And it's showing me where they are. So I guess what you could do is you see the layers or the islands. You go back. You go into support mode. But you should be able to you should be able to go back to that problematic area, which it is not, unless I'm missing it. So when you're back to the slicing area, it shows you where they're at, but when you go back to the part where you're supposed to add supports, it doesn't show you where they're at. Am I missing that? I think so. So I wonder how that would be solved. That is a good one. Let's see here. Let's go back to here. Slice. Yeah, here it's just going up. I have to go through and detect it all over again. So that is a good question. How do you repair those with supports once you've located the islands? So that is something I will definitely look into and add that in the comments, or if somebody else sees it, they could add those in the comments as well. That would be extremely helpful. Let's see, go back. All right. One of the other models I wanted to go over, let's see. Something else I wanted to show everybody, how worth it is to get your bust scanned. If you do, or if you have a client, have their bust scanned. This is going to be super big, but I'll scale it down. Okay. So I went to a place and had my bust scanned. And the reason why I did this is so that way when I want to print out a helmet or a mask or something, it'll be sized just for me. You can also print out your full bust so that you can make your own stuff. And what I did was I printed out a smaller version. It's a little creepy, but the detail is just amazing. There's apps that you can use with your phone. If you try to do that, the quality's not so good, but it'll give you pretty much a general idea of what size your head is, so that way you can add, you can do it in Mesh Mixer is a good one. There's other programs you can do, but Mesh Mixer allowed me to simply size my helmet to fit my head perfectly. This is the way it printed. Look how insanely accurate. Well, I didn't know my ear was drooping like that, but it's pretty insane. Anyway, so there's that. I had something else. When it comes to printing things that are I'm just going to go ahead and show you what I did here. Okay, it's not letting me do it. I'll just do it like this. 5 save as. STL. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm close the folder by accident. 1 second. Okay. When it comes to printing stuff like masks, speaking of masks, this is ideal. So I'm going to go ahead and pick out this one here. Here's the original mask here. When you want to print a mask, printing it at an angle like such is to try to save time. It's not really the best thing to do because you also have to add supports all along the edge here. Angling is so important when it comes to adding supports. So the best thing to do is to get it as upright as possible because it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to clean. See, I did the branching off here too. It just makes it a lot easier to print. And something else that you want to consider when you're adding supports, like along this edge here, I didn't add them all along the edge. When you add your first, for example, on this one, when I added my first one, I didn't go up and add all these supports here because there was no needed. Because when a print is printing, it prints at an angle and it uses itself as its own support until it can no longer do that, which is where this first support is here. When it starts to go off and branch out, because it like a bridge. You just think of it as a bridge. It needs a support. Have you ever seen a bridge like this and the supports underneath the bridge, that you drive over, go like this? It's because it's the same thing. Think of it as a bridge that is supported like this. Because when the pressure comes down, it doesn't need to be completely supported in the middle. Although it doesn't take up that much more resin. So these guys here, they need to be supported here where the eyes are. And it just comes out much better when it's supported that way. And I went ahead and I changed the size of this too. Let's see. Something else I was going to bring up too. This, you guys are familiar with this. It's the test file for the Saturn, for the Mars, anything that's Elegoo. I've always wondered, how is it that that file can print on the build plate and not really produce elephant's foot? So what I did was, see if I can bring these guys up. I should have already had them up, but I have these really cool, page holders, that's what they're called. These are really cool. And you're welcome. Feel free to use these if you like. But these are page holders. And basically what they do is you put your thumb in them, and you hold the book open, and those wings will hold the book open. Have you ever held a book and you had to put your middle finger on the spine and your other two fingers to hold the pages open? Well, this alleviates that. You just put your thumb in the center and your other hand on the spine of the book and it holds the book open. But I didn't want to put any supports on them because it would ruin the look of it. And I printed these with Siraya Tech Fast Smoky Black. I designed them in Fusion 360. But if you were to download this model, you can do what I'm about to tell you in Mesh Mixer. 3D Print Pro has a video specifically for this, and thanks to him, I was able to alleviate this problem. I wanted to be able to print something flat, just like this, So what I did, I'm going to zoom in here now. You can see real close. You can see that there's a little bit left, or I added a little bit of material. That's 0.15 additional material, and it's underneath the radius here. So that way, when I scrape it with my spatula, my plastic spatula, I'm not going to damage it. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? Well, why don't I just get a flex plate? I don't use a flex plate a lot. This probably could have been one of those times. But if you don't have a flex plate and you want to be able to print stuff flat on the plate, here you go. And what I did was I just basically rotated it. Boom, done. And I put like 5 of them on here. So I guess someone was Eduardo or somebody was using. I wanted to see what my settings were for my printers. So I'm going to go over here to settings, and these are my settings for a Siraya Tech Fast Gray on my Saturn, and I haven't had any issues whatsoever. Here we go. This is pretty much how I've used. I also use the fast gray, the fast smoky black as well. No problems whatsoever. Feel free to take a screenshot of that. Now for the Phenom, it just has a standard screen. This is what I use. This is supposed to say Fast Gray by Siraya Tech. These are the settings that I use. Notice the retract speeds at 150. Now, I don't use the vroom settings because I don't like to put... I just don't trust the stress that you put on a machine. Some people will argue against that, but I'm okay without it. Same with my Noir. Here's my settings for my Noir. Now, the only thing that I changed on my Noir is the retract speed. I bumped it up to... Oh, okay. Gosh, I don't know why. Let me change that real quick. There. Okay. So I'm going to go back over here to Saturn. You should see some. It's delayed for me. There we go. So these are my Saturn settings. They've worked for me. I haven't had any problems. I don't do the vroom settings. I just don't see a need. I want my printer to last a long time. I think that there's heating issues when it comes to that. It doesn't give the resin enough time to cool. This is my Phenom settings. These settings work splendid. Anything I print on a Phenom, I don't have any failures. These are my Noir settings. The only thing I have changed is the retract speed, and that's when it goes back down. And I jumped it up 10, just to make it a little bit faster. The time I save is marginal, so I don't really, I don't know. I don't see any particular need to go any higher or anything like that, or to change any other settings. And let's go back to this guy. All right. So, is there any other questions? Let's see. I think that's pretty much out that I was going to cover today. Oh, I could go over this. This is the... this is the mask, and all of the supports that I've added are on the bottom here. And I'm going to go ahead and see if I can open this, showing you everything that's supported. Nope, it's not doing it. Oh, wait here. There we go. And OBS is weird. It's not. Okay, so here's this mask here. I went ahead and I chromed it with Molotow. It came out really good. This is the exact. I've only printed it once. I haven't had any problems. It almost looks like the one from Cyberpunk. But anyhow, so this is where I was using the options for. Now that I don't know how it printed, but it printed without any problems, but it did, and these were still attached. So if I wanted to, I suppose I could go over here and. But see, you got to be careful when you do that. You don't want to go into the model. Oh, that's interesting. Just kind of floating there. I would probably just delete this. And then come over here and add one. But that's how I support that. Now, you notice that there's still some redness underneath here. Now, it's still printed fine. It's not a complete island because it's angled up a little bit. If it's angled up, most of the time it'll print, but if you don't want to take a chance, by all means, add supports there. You can add one here, for example. And I'm going to go over here. I'm going to edit it so that way it's a smaller tip. And then I can just add that like this. And I'm going to bring it out a little bit. And then that one's done. Now, as far as this hole, I didn't have any problems printing it beforehand. So this is what I'm going to do. Because it's not letting me. If I try to put a support there, it's going to give me this. And you can't alter the knuckle when it does the angle like this. So I'm just going to find a spot where I can add it. I'm going to bring this knuckle down. I'm going to come over here. And let's see. And then I'm going to add this like this. There. That's not completely in the center, and that's okay. I'll just grab it. Now, some people will add their supports automatically. I don't like to do that because I don't fully trust the software to do it. I mean, it'll do a good job, but then, sure, I'll just add all the supports automatically, and then I'll go back and edit. Well, I don't want to do that. I would rather just add them, and it helps me learn what really needs to be added. For example, these guys here. Chitubox, if you add automatic supports, it'll most likely add supports right here at these spots. I don't see the need to. If I want, I suppose I could and just do that. But I didn't have a problem with it. It's just an acquired taste. I did a lot of practicing on smaller stuff to figure out how things were going to work. See, I could add stuff in these nose, but I mean, I didn't have any issues printing them. And going along the edge, is the best way to go. Printing masks upright like this, like Uncle Jessey has a lot of masks, and a lot of he's shown the Iron Man faceplate all printed upwards because it's a lot easier. It's less work. You don't need to support it any other way, and it's easier to deal with those. If you're going to get any kind of layer lines, it's easier to deal with them that way than they are in any other way, because if it's flat, then you're going to have this little island at the top, and if you try to get rid of it with sandpaper, what's going to happen is you're going to have a flat spot there. Okay, Eduardo, you want... Let me see if I can do this for you. You want me to hollow out something using Prusa? Let me see. I'll load this up. Do you use Prusa Slicer? Or do you have it installed? Okay. So I'm going to have to edit this here. Center monitor. Prusa Slicer. So mine's 2.2. So it's an older version. Hey, look at that. Sweet. I'm getting the hang of this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring up that skull. Hex 3D. And Duncan's skull. So if you're not a member of the Hex 3D, I would highly suggest it. He puts out a lot of great models, and after 3 months, you get full access of everything. And he likes Grogu, and that's okay. You know, he's done some pretty awesome Grogu stuff, mashups and things like that. But he puts out a bunch of other awesome stuff too. I mean, I can't tell you how worth it is. Let's see. All right. Maybe I'll make this a little bit smaller because this is full size. Scale. Let's just say 80%. That's good enough. All right. So this is Prusa. It should be pretty much the same. The way that I have it set up is I just change the size because it won't let you do anything if the model goes beyond the grid here. So the best thing to do is to just change the settings. Like here, printer settings, change all that here. Okay. So once you get all that set up, this is how you hollow it. You got all these icons here. I don't know if they're the same in the newer version. I tried to update mine. I think it pretty much is about Prusa Slicer. It may not be. But I don't think that's that much different. Anyway, so this option here, hit H for hollow. Now I'm going to uncheck show supports because I don't need those. Here's where you change the thickness, the wall thickness. And right here is accuracy. I just leave that at that number. The hole diameter, depending on the model. So right now I have it set to 4, and we'll do that in a second. Now, down here in the bottom right where it says Slice Now, this is where once you hit this button here, Preview Hollowed and Drilled Model, that's where you're going to see it. I think you can put holes in here now, actually. Yep, there it goes. So once you put the hole in there, you just kind of position it. And you can put the other one over here and hide it if you want to. It just really depends on where you want it. Okay. And now you're going to press Preview Hollowed and Drilled Model. And you can see down here on the right, it's thinking about it. Man, I got a really fast machine, and it's all about the software. Oh, it's done. Okay. Well, most of the time, it's about the software. Now, there's no way to see it from this window, but it's done. And then you can save it. But if you want to preview it, you can do that. But if you don't want to, just go over to here to File, Export plate as STL. Now I'm going to go over here to the bottom. This is the editor view that we're looking at. I'm going to go over here to Preview and click on that. And as you can see down here in the bottom right, the scroll bar, it's taking its time to generate a preview for you. And this is why you don't show supports, because it'll take less time and it won't clutter the view. Ooh, okay. All right, apologize for the delay. I swear it's the software. I'd show you my machine if I could. I waited overnight in my car. I got at Micro Center at 10 minutes to 9 p.m. Oh, it showed the supports anyway. And put my chair in line and got my video card the next day. That's how bad it is. Okay. So here we are. Scroll down, and it didn't hollow it. It's making a liar out of me. Oh. See this little thing here where it says hollow this object? Yeah, click that. That's probably a good idea. Now let's preview. You know, it's those things. It's the mistakes that you make that you share with others so that they don't make them with you, or they don't also make them. I've done that on other tutorials, like my other replacing the LCD screen. All those things that I've done were for the first time, so then that way other people don't make the same mistakes. So this probably will take a little bit longer. So use slice on Prusa and use Chitubox to put supports on. I'm not slicing. I am hollowing. That's my only purpose of using Prusa until Chitubox changes how they hollow objects, because it, as you can see, it just doesn't look the same. And what I'll do is I'll bring that back in. Let's see. Yep. I will bring that back in and show you the difference again for the people that were not able to see it. So I'm like right in front of that. So hollow this object. This. Oh, it's not going to do it. Right up there at the top where it says hollow this object. So this right here, make sure you have that selected. Oh, it's done. So let's go to preview, which is down here. Hey, That's my cat. That's Maya. And she's saying hello. Oh my God. Come on. Say hello to... Come on. So sometimes when I do cooking, I also do cooking videos. It's called Cooking with Maya and Felixx. And she's just has to make herself known. Say hi. You're on the mic. Say hi. Pressure's on. Don't make a liar out of me. Okay. Come on, man. Say something. There we go. All right. There we go. Okay, so it looks like it's done. Or it's there we go. I don't know why it's still putting the supports there. But now we go down, it should be hollow. And it puts supports on the inside, which I'm telling you, there is absolutely no need. At least I didn't. And I suppose it depends on how big the model is. If you're going to do something really big and it's going to be a solid color, go for it. But I was doing something in Siraya and the black gray, and I didn't want supports in there. So I took a chance. And it did it just fine. Now, when you're done, you go over here, and when you're going to export, make sure you select... Oh, it's not going to let you. It's not going to show it. At the top, where it says... Huh. Oh, it doesn't... At the top, it'll say File, and you just want to export... export plate as ATL. You don't include the supports. That's all that you do. That's all that's left. Now we'll go back here. Oh, why do I have two of them? Okay. Center monitor. Properties. Here we go. All right, we are back. So again, for those who missed out, here's the skull that we didn't just do it, but this is the solid version. And then this one is the hollowed version. So this one I'm going to hollow. Start. And the scroll bar at the bottom is really cool. That's a nice added feature. Oh. Wow, what the heck? Oh, I hollowed the wrong one. So it hollowed the hollow. So that's what happens when you hollow something twice. All right, back here, start hollowing again. So as you can see, the difference between Chitubox's hollowing and Prusa. That is the difference. So hopefully that'll change. But if it's something that's not really crucial to you, then just do it in Chitubox, so that way you don't have to open up another program. But that is why anything hollow. Plus, it just makes it easier for, I don't know, it's just a lot of reasons why this should be smoother. And it is a huge deal, because if you're printing something round and you're going to cut it later to use it, let's just say for a helmet or something, but you're hollowing it for a purpose. Let's just say you are making a helmet, but you're doing it all in one piece. But later you're going to cut it so that you can put it on. You want it as smooth as possible on the inside when you cut that unwanted part out. You don't want it to be jagged, because that's going to cause you're going to have to do a ton of sanding. That would be the reason why having a nice smooth inside would be beneficial. So I guess that's pretty much it. I don't know what else I can cover right now. I know there's a ton of things I forgot. Let's see here. Oh, you can take screenshots now with Chitubox. You can also do video recording. So, and this will help you set it up. Here's the camera setup. This is a watermark. You can also put a watermark whenever you take a screenshot. This is just to start the capture, which is pretty cool. I'm hoping you saw that. Yep. Wow, that's weird. It doesn't show everything. Wow. Okay. For me, whenever I want to show a client a screenshot of something, I just downloaded Lightshot. Lightshot, I just press print screen. I'm able to put arrows and stuff like that and circle or whatever, and it's quick. But it's really nice that you don't have to install a third-party program. You just do it right here in Chitubox. There's several undo or revoke, as they say. They have to be different. This one here is copy. You don't need this button, but you can do it with a keystroke, which is simple. This is auto layout. This is something, okay, this is something I can go over. One thing I do want to point out, if you go to the Chitubox YouTube channel, they have a lot of little tiny videos that go over some of these functions, which is very helpful. So I'm going to just bring in this ear cap again. Oh, that was weird. I didn't expect that. Boop. Okay. So let's just say Control C. I can do that. Or I can just go and click on copy. And it just does it all in one button. And I just keep doing it. And just keeps adding them. Now the pattern, center, X, Y, max distance. Center. X side or Y side, and just keep adding them. And then you can just change the pattern on the plate. But it didn't do it right for this one. That's weird. So we'll just keep doing pattern and just we'll do it center. Wow, that's really weird. Why is it doing that? Y side, center, 4, 5, 6. Maybe it's because there's not 8. Interesting. Anyway, you can adjust the distance apart from each other. So if I wanted to say 10, center. So now they're 10 millimeters apart. Kind of like if you don't want your food touching or near each other, you can do it in your slicing or your Chitubox. We went over hollowing and digging a hole, and this one is repair. Oh man, this one is pretty awesome. I've had some models that needed some desperate repair. oh man, but I've got models that I've already repaired. I can't think of them right now. But have you ever brought in a model? Have you ever brought in a model where part of it is super dark black and it doesn't work? It won't print right. Like there's a hole in a print or something like that. This option will you can choose auto repair. There's nothing wrong with it, so it's not going to repair it. But if you ever had those problems where there's a black spot in your model, that means it needs to be repaired. And normally I would open up 3D Builder and I would do repairs that way. But now Chitubox has that option here. This icon here changes the view. Changes a perspective view. Let me see here. Pattern. Let's put that sucker in the center. That's one way to put things in the center. So that changes the kind of perspective view. Turn that off. Something else I've noticed, and when I changed my screen, my LCD screen, for some reason, this, and I don't change. Oh, I gotta hold on. Okay. When I change my LCD screen, sometimes you have to change this. So I'm going to make a huge recommendation that's not in any of my other videos. When you change your screen, do a test print. But do a test print that is going to be reversed if it was printed the wrong way. This LCD mirror here will give you different options. It'll either be on normal or LCD mirror. So what I had to do is I had to switch it. I ended up doing a 4-day print. And it was a horse. And he had his leg up, and it ended up being in reverse. Luckily, the client was like, yes, I'll totally take that, because it was a second print. Maybe you saying, oh yeah, that's awesome. It's kind of like when you go to an Asian restaurant and they have the dragons and one leg's this way and one leg's that way when you walk in. So it ended up printing it in reverse. So that is something to be mindful when you are changing your LCD screen. I don't know why I have to keep changing it. That's weird. Okay, let's see. One last question. 50% of my models fall from the supports and doesn't print anything. Not enough supports could be the reason, or something about the printing angle or something else. Can you give me an idea? Is it a mini or is it something large? So I can bring in another print, or I can bring in another model, and let's see. It's really simple. A large print. Okay. So why don't we remove this then? Let me bring in something fairly large. I have too many models. Okay, let's see. So this was something that was fairly big. And let's see, horns. super difficult, awkward, because he has two horns. This is another awesome print by Jeff, otherwise known as Hex 3D. Orienting this is a challenge. I hollowed it in Prusa, as you can see. I even did the horns. Up. There we go. And when you're doing one other thing, when you're hollowing, when you're putting your holes in, pick a spot where it's not going to be seen, if you can. That one's in there. I got a couple down here at the bottom. I just like to make sure that all that resin drains out, and when you're rinsing it out in your wash station, you get rid of, all the fluid from the inside comes out more easily. And here's the holes here in the bottom. I think the first time I had to print this, right here there was something that needed to be repaired, or it was another model. So I'm not sure why yours. Now this is the Noir, so this is a pretty big model. So I'm trying to think how I did it. When you look at your model, before you print it, you want to think, what's going to be shown? What am I going to see when I display this model? Now, the way I have it displayed, it's like this. So you can't really see the bottom or the back much, for that matter. So what I did is I rotate it. Oh, that's not good. Just a little bit. And I come down here like this because I want to see how much surface is going to be used. And because it's hollowed, not a whole lot. That's just right down here. That's just, I wish Chitubox would do that. Hopefully they will. I have faith in you. For a free program, I'm not complaining though. But like I said, I would pay for a pro version, So anyway, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and open up my supports. You notice the horns disappear. I'm going to go to heavy. Now it's going to show all of these options to add supports. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come down here. Here's a good spacing. And you can go right on the edge because it's already radiused, you'll be able to sand that. Also pay attention to this guy. See how he's rotating along that radiused edge? See, I'm off of it now. So I'm going to hit Control Z. I'm just going to stay on the red as much as I can. Now, see how it goes from dark red and it's starting to lighten up? This is when you can start coming off of the edge. Because it's just, there's no need. Because it's coming up at an angle. And if you notice this too, that is indicating an island. So I'm going to put that there. Here's another trick. I want to slide this over without zooming out. So when I put in my next support, I'm going to hold my finger down on the button and then move it. And then let go. And I'm just going to keep going here. And I can go a little further apart because there's just no need to get too crazy because this is the base. Boom. That base is done using heavy supports. Now, I don't know why. Oh, I changed that, didn't I? Huh. Let's see here. Let's see what that changes. It's at 4 right now. I'm going to delete these. I'm going to delete these guys here. Because I want to see how that setting changes. Cross width. And it tells me that's how it does it. So I'm going to go back up to 5. There we go. And see if that makes a difference. What if I go to, let's say, 10. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. So I went ahead and I changed that to 10. That's a little excessive. It could probably go to 8. I'm going to delete these real quick so I can see what the changes that I made. Add supports. Yeah, there we go. I prefer these. You know what? This is such an awesome thing. I'm sorry if I keep talking about it, but you can do it this close. You still have a support, which you use less resin. So you're allowed to control how much resin you use, where your supports are going to be. I don't know. It's a pretty cool thing. So yeah, to make sure that they stay on your base, I would suggest highly that you use heavies on your bottom in this instance. Now when I look down here at this bottom, now this is his back. I'm still going to use a heavy, and this is why. I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and do this. I'm going to come up here, right at the base of these waves here, just like that. Now I'm going to go over here to edit. I'm going to bring these down just a little bit. Don't bring them down too much, because then you'll have a failed support. And if you go in a circular, don't do them too close, because then it won't print correctly. It has to be at a distance. And if you go too far, see what happens? You get too much of an angle, and then the support takes up more surface area of your model, and it's more difficult to get off. So perpendicular is possible, but not too much of an angle. So I'm going to go up here, and then here, and then, I mean, I don't have to do any more. I wonder if I can delete that center one. Oh, look at that. So that's actually something that I'm discovering for the first time. I've always wanted to be able to delete the very first one. So the reason why I wanted to do this here is bring this down here, here, and here. Now, if you get too much of an angle, excuse me, let's just say, for example, Well, that actually turned out better. But if you get too much of an angle, like right here, just grab a hold of this guy. Because like I said, you don't want too much of an angle there. There. And if they're by themselves, then what you can do is just add another support to support it. I mean, you can go crazy if you want. It's just, I don't know, it's up to you. But some people say, well, why don't I just add 4 supports on the model? Because I like to be able to control this. It's still a heavy support, but it's dragged down. Anyway, so that's that. This is still the back. So all the supports are going to be mostly in the back here. Yeah. Uh-huh. So I'm going to go up here. And I'm going to try to keep that as perpendicular as possible. I'm going to double click on it. I'll just add these guys here. It's not going to harm it. So here's an instance where, oh my gosh, it's super tall. So what I'm going to do is just add a couple supports here. Sorry. So there's that. Now, on things such as this, if you want to add a support on the chin, you look down on the top. Is that too far to reach over? I think it is. But on some models, you'll be able to. I'm going to give an example here. Nope. It's hard to get that one without the bent knuckle. There we go. So now I'm going to edit this because I want to get under the ear, but I don't want to put another support there. Even though this is kind of rough and you won't really see the other end, I don't think this is going to be too far. So I'm going to drop this down a little bit. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to add it to the bottom of the ear. This is a temporary placeholder. Because see that spot? But that's too much of a bridge. That's too much. So I'm going to bring this down so it's more straight. Some people will argue with me that this is not enough support, but it's just the bottom of the ear. It's just to get it to go. And if you really want to, you can thicken it by just double clicking on it. Oh, no. Let's see here. I wasn't expecting that. And you can just add 3 of them here. This will print, I know, because I've done it. It's just right here. You know, just just support the supports. Now the other option is to, you know, add a support. That's going to happen there. And then you could choose. Hey. You can choose to raise this up too. So it's a smaller point on the shoulder. I've done that too. I don't think you can yeah. You can't branch off the bottom ones. Hey. Tearing up the green screen. You can't branch off or add branches to the bottom ones, which is a bummer. I think you should be able to. I don't think that's very hard to encode into the software. What is the wall thickness? No, it's 3 millimeter. I always go 3, unless if it's a small model. Hey, stop. If it's a small model, I'm so sorry. If it's a small model, then go like 2.5, maybe 2, but 2 is pushing it. So on model like this, it's at 3, and this will actually print. And it's easier to take, like I said, it's easier to take off. Give me just 1 second. Here's this model. Successfully printed, and then I went ahead and I painted it. And the bottom is all smooth. Here's those 2 holes. Looks like I put 3 in there. And you can't really see, you can't see anything really, because I painted them off, or I took them off. I set in a little bit of light sanding, and that was it. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close this up for now because we've been going for quite a while. And I want to thank you for joining me on my first time streaming. For the next time, I'll, if you have any suggestions, just put them in the comments. I promise not to make it as long next time. I had a curriculum laid out. I just didn't, I went off kilter. So if you have any other questions, like I said, place them in the comments. If you have suggestions, I'll be more than happy to put together a good, agenda to go over and answer questions. This is a trial run. It seemed to go pretty good as far as technically, and I'm very happy to share anything. I'm sure I'll remember stuff that I should have said after I turn it off. But in the future, I'll be more comfortable in front of this thing and a little bit more loose. So thank you again. And I'll see you on the Facebook groups, either the Saturn or the Peopoly. Just feel free to PM me. I go by Felixx, Felixx, and you'll see me on the boards posting stuff. So be safe and take care of one another. And there's light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to this chaos stuff that's going on. But I'm glad that we have programs like OBS and the internet and everything else to help us get through times like this. So, and cats and dogs and animals and everything else. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. Take care. Peace out. Oh, like and subscribe, and ring the bell for more videos.